already independence, meaning we are already authority on how we build our own good governance, for example. So the moment Israel want to take back us, we are at least we are ready, for example, on how at least we have our soldier, for example, we have our political agenda and so on and so forth. Therefore, like taking back Gaza or even Israel for us, we can handling at the end of the day, for example. Secondly, on how Erwin claimed that even it's okay for us living in security as long we still can practice and so on, and even we are die we live in a peace. But Mr. Speaker, let's see on how if you want to practice your religion belief as long as you still practice, but the question is how your practice will be run well if the moment if you are living in a workplace, like we see when you go to the mosque, for example, you get bombing from the soldier of Israel, for example, that is in status quo many mosques bombing because this kind of soldier, for example, don't want you to strengthening your believer, for example. It shows to you if you keep in Gaza, they cannot, meaning that you cannot do your practice, for example, because meaning that you cannot get a peace by the spiritual, for example, meaning you will still more die by suffering at the end of the day. Comparative, if we let Gaza, for example, if we let Gaza, for example, at least you will strengthening your spiritual, for example, you will be more happy because you can practice your own way, because the moment you are involved in Gaza, for example, this kind of Gaza will not oppress you because Israel will think that now you are be our part, meaning that you have a right on how you practice your own belief, for example, because it's your own right to begin with. Therefore, it is really better for Gaza on how they want to still practicing their belief their practices to begin with, and so going to my case that. But before, what makes us different with OG on how OG only talk about why it's justified, but there is no specifically benefit on how the Palestinian will be more better after let Gaza. So on how they claim how basically Palestinian will get support from Western and so on. But Mr. Speaker, we say that we don't need really Western country, for example. But why? Because basically we are from Islamic country, meaning that we still find another supporting coming from Islamic country, for example. That is like more easy on how we get this kind of supporting. Why? Because we have because we really need after we are colonized, for example. Therefore, we still need another supporting from the country. Why? Basically, this Islamic country will be more likely help us because we have a same historical, for example, or even we have a same identity to begin with, meaning that we are brotherhood. Like because there is Islamic country that rich, for example, like Arab and so on and so far, meaning that we still can depend on them on how we want to build our government, build our own governmentalist to begin with. Lastly, on how it's okay to let Gaza for independence. First is the sake of we will help the people of the Gaza if we let go Gaza, meaning their independence. And this is so meaningful also for Gaza because every day Gaza taking attack by Israel, like killing many children, killing civil society, killing innocent. So only see bombing every day. Meaning if we let Gaza, meaning we make them safe from this kind of suffering that happened for very, very, very long time. Meaning if we say we are able to let Gaza, we say no because we make them feeling secure. We make them feeling secure, or if we make them feeling secure. Second of all, the moment we let Gaza, meaning that we will have entire Palestinian that as a government we should guarantee about the security and so on. If the war happen, meaning all the sector affecting by this war, like how Palestinian status quo, their economy fall down, security of the nation that really bad, no life, that they are living in a jail, like they are living in a jail. By this war, make every society get suffering. Whereas also. So the moment we let Palestine, we helping society out from the oppression. Meaning we provide them security provide them, at least they are not limiting in terms of on how they want to go to practice. For example, at least they still can eat without any sea bombing every day. Therefore, we are very proud to be Palestinian.
Ladies and gentlemen, notice that populations of people in Palestinians are Muslims, and it also means that they also upholding the values of Islam in itself. It is not only limited in terms of salat, for example, and so on and so forth, but it is also teach about the values like jihadis, for example. You have to fight for the truth and so on and so forth. It also there is a say that is implement the idea that you sacrifice your territory, for example, to go to masjid in a safe way, or also wrong that is element. There is also to say that the idea of to sacrificing those territory in Gaza or in order to get a peace and so on and so forth against the values of Palestinians in itself, and also it is also a form of compromising value in itself. So therefore, we say that it is unjust, ladies and gentlemen. But before that, several quick response toward the entire government sort of house. First, the only benefit from open government, they say that about the independence itself, because they will never be interfered by Israel in itself. Notice the moment when you are independent, you will not only intervene by Israel, for example, but you will also have to cooperate with other international organizations, and also need to cooperate in trade, for example, and so on and so forth. And also, I'm going to explain in my argument. Secondly, they also closing government also says about the bilateral relations, because the moment an internal conflict happen, then you can attack back Israel and so on. So we said that it is not that simple. Why is that so? Because even if you attack Israel, for example, so you will not survive. Why is that so? That is included because you will have not enough soldiers, for example. You have not enough weapons and other things to support against Israel and attack back. The fact that Israel is supported by USA, for example, therefore we say that your power is not that significant against Israel. So therefore we say that it will be better for us to stay on the status quo in itself. So our stance in closing government, we are going to keep fighting to get independence, the real independence itself. Two things I'm going to say. But first, why in principle it is unjust to let go Gaza in itself. What we need to understand is that the historical background of Israel-Palestinian conflict itself. We say that it is an occupation that is after Holocaust, for example. Jewish people went to Palestinian authority and also established Jewish countries, that Israel, for example, we say that it is occupation legislation, and we say that it is unjust. Why is that so? Because the moment when you let occupation, for example, we say that it is unjust, because you have to keep both stands for fight for their independence, because that is the Palestinian rights. They're not okay if you let go Gaza itself, because we say that it is a form of giving up in itself. Because when we talk about the Israel-Palestinian conflict, it is not limited in terms of conflict about territories, for example. That is relevant. It is also talk about the Muslim community around the world. That is relevant. The moment when you giving up itself, it also means you will compromise your value. You will lose support from international community of Muslim, for example. That is relevant. So what and also it also means those victims are useless who have been fight for the true for the fight, for example, also are going to be useless at the end of the day. It also means it cuts all of international support from Muslims in itself. So their argument, it also means their argument about supporting from Muslim Muslims countries such as Arabic countries, for example, and so on and so forth will not exist. Why is that so? Because the Palestinian will be seen as a country that will already compromise the value of Islam in itself. So therefore, it also cut the cooperations between Muslim countries and also Palestinian in itself. If they compromise the value in itself. Even if they got freedom, it also they will never get peace at the end of the day, because they have compromised value and also cut the international support. Because when we talk about the Israel-Palestinian, it is also talk about the religious values of Islam in itself. Secondly, why then, even if even if in their best scenario, even if in the best scenario they let go of Gaza for the West Bank, for example, and to get independence, why is that not that significant? What do people want from the independence? They want safety and security. They want welfare and society. They also want economic stability in itself. Let's see the Palestinian territory. The border of Palestinian territory is that in Egypt and Jordan and other Arabic countries around the world. That is relevant. It also means those Arab countries are Muslim are Muslims country. It also means they need to cooperate with the nearest countries from for the Palestinian itself. And the only way, for example, if you would like to improve your the economic trade, for example, and so on so far, is by cooperate with them. All of international support from Muslims in itself. It also impact to the economic trade, even if you are already free, and also you also cannot get an access toward the Western countries support. Why is that so? Because Western countries support to the at the very first place already give support toward the toward the Israel for their certain interest in itself. So what do you get under our satellites? And that's when you will not lose the international support from Muslim community because you are not going to compromise your value. Even if you got in their side of the house, they will lose those benefits in itself. And also, even if in their side of the house they get independence, it will not be that significant. They will also trapped in lowest economic sector. It also means they will still occupied by economic sector, not in politics in itself. Because notice in their side, their independence will only in political, not only in economic. That's relevant. So therefore, we said that it will be better in our side of the house because you will also get international support to support you. Things like country like Turkey, for example, that already progressed under the leader of the Erdogan, for example, who always address support toward the Palestinian. We say that at the end of the day, in the future, the real independence will be achieved at the end of the day. Therefore, we're proud to oppose.